Nicole, Lewis Hamilton won the British GP.
I have not regained my chill about it. I don't think I'll regain my chill about it. So that's fantastic to be recording a podcast where we have to be normal people about things, or not, because that's why we have a podcast. But Lewis Hamilton won the British GP, and oh my gosh, it literally did not feel like real life. And I felt like my heart was going to come out of my mouth.
And that's where we're starting the show.
Recording from New York and Los Angeles, your hosts, Nicole Katz and Briana Klein, are emerging from the tunnel for this week's show. Another sports show is ready to broadcast to you on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Make us one of your stars of the game by subscribing, liking the video, and turning on auto downloads. Before we kick off, please leave us a podcast review and YouTube comment. Attend the postgame on social media for exclusive daily content. Today on another sports show.
After that, we are going to take that same energy and play a quick game of Superstition or Super Stupid for the first time on the podcast, which is going to kick off all the baseball we're going to talk about. So we're going to do our first Broad Street versus Broadway, check in on both of the Mets and the Phillies, and probably a little Yankees, even though neither of us are fans. Then we're going to do our second edition of MLB Series of the Week. Nicole's going to give us her takeaways and how she did for both the series we followed last week, and then I'm going to present her with her new series this upcoming week. And we're going to wrap up the baseball with a cute little Phillies Daycare moment of the week. Then we're going to turn our attention back to hockey and talk everything NHL Free Agency. So the Flyers didn't really do anything, so Nicole's going to tell us how she feels about the Islanders and all the other big headlines going on in the NHL, where they tried to jam-pack pretty much an entire off-season's work into about 5 days, and it was really overwhelming. So I need her to break it down for me, and hopefully that will help all of you as well. We're going to close out talking the NHL because they also decided to give us their schedule release for next year, so we're both going to do a podium of the games we're the most excited to watch. And last but not least, we wrap up every show with the final buzzer, which is a couple topics that we just couldn't do a full segment on this week, but we want you to know going into your next sports week. And with that, take it away, voiceover man.
It's another sports show, but it's not.
Nicole.
Not
We're
fine.
not fine!
Not fine. It's more than fine. It's fantastic because Lewis Hamilton won a race, and he didn't win just any race, but he won the British GP. He won at Silverstone. He won at home. The drought has ended. Too much emotion.
A little behind the curtain. We are recording this on Sunday. So we watched the British GP this morning. And I feel like I've just been in a state of shock. And I'm not going to be able to be eloquent about anything other than explaining my emotional state right now, which is a mix of shock. I've already cried because hearing Lewis Hamilton come on the radio crying, that just made me start to bawl. I want to scream and cheer and be obnoxious, but mostly I'm just like a ball of emotions.
Yeah, Ball of Emotions was a really good sum of the day, especially once we start getting to interviews and Lewis is talking about how there would be days where he can't get out of bed and he just feels like he was never going to win a race again. And it was really one of those motivational moments that, hey, if Lewis Hamilton can get up and keep going, guess what? So can I.
Telling Bono he loves him on the radio. Doing it at home so he got to hug his dad and his mom and his stepmom and his little cute, adorable niece.
And Roscoe was there. Roscoe got to see his dad win a race.
Again.
Wow. Again, yes, meaning it's, again, at home. Yeah.
Yeah, you would think from what we're saying right now that Lewis has never won a race before. And instead it's he has now made the bar even further for the most race wins.
It's just been 950 something days. So it's, we're just really pent up and ready to be wild and excited about it. And it was great racing to watch. It was just again, heart in my throat, could not fathom what was happening. And it's just okay. All needs to be perfect and fine. And everything was perfect and fine. Everything was perfect and fine. And then the situation
I'm not fine.
I'm not fine. I'm not perfect. I'm unwell in the best way possible.
Yes. Fun fact, he now is the complete sole owner of the most race wins at one circuit with 9. He was before tied with Michael Schumacher at 8. It is incredible to see. I think this is, I'm going to butcher this. So editing me, please fix it in post, but it's the 14th year in a row that he's podiumed at Silverstone.
Yes.
Which is incredible considering the last 2 years, and he just dragged that car to P3.
And most of the, like, when looking at all of them, it is obviously a majority, like, P1, 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 and then we get to, like, this little sad space in the last, like, 2 years. It's like, P3,
there's a random P2.
Yeah, that random P2 just, like, in this cluster, and then it's just all, like, I own it here, this is my house.
I so desperately want to give the eloquent race analysis that I know my brain could be giving right now, but all my brain is screaming is just tire masterclass.
I know. Like, tire masterpiece, weather masterpiece, management of tires and everything, and not getting screwed over by a strategy, and just other people pitting too slow. And there were so many beautiful things that just occurred, and we could be eloquent about all of that. But why would we do that? Because Lewis Hamilton won a race, and we're emotional about it, and it's just a beautiful, fantastic, wonderful Sunday. In this year of 2024, Lewis Hamilton has won a race, and I feel incredible about it.
The attempt I will make to do some actual thinking, so it's not just 10 minutes of us screaming about this, is it was incredible to watch both Lewis and Lando be given the same race strategy. So yeah, Lando pitted a lap later, which was a mistake. But for those final 10 laps, they were both on softs, and watching Lando get slower and slower and Lewis manage the pace on those soft tires, which immediately in the cool down room, Lewis was like, why didn't you take the mediums? They were the better tire. I didn't have mediums to take. And so it's like one of those, like, we got to see for that final stint, both drivers do the same thing in the same tires, and Lewis Hamilton just do it so much better because he is Lewis Hamilton. And that's not necessarily a knock on Lando Norris. It's just he's not Lewis Hamilton, which just showing the skill
that he has of like managing the tires that were available and possible, and like being able to win a race that probably, like, on paper, if you were like, hey, this is what's recommended, this would be ideal, and not having those and still being able to, like, win out and do it, like, just.
And of course, like, I'm not trying to say that, like, everything that happened before that should be discounted. Like, I think McLaren lost this race in as many ways as Mercedes won this race in strategy leading up to it. I just love when things line up so perfectly at the end, where, like, if Lando was doing as good of a job as Lewis on those tires, the gap would have been maintained. And Lando would have been P2 or just fighting off Max for P2 versus what happens. So
having to switch and then,
It's
but
so
still 3
rare.
seconds, like, feels like.
It's so rare that you get to, like, see a driver's skill on display, because it's so rare in an F1 race that things work out where it's like, so you're both on the same tire and the same strategy with the same amount of fuel, like, seeing all of that work out. And, like, but it was really stressful. I could hear the heartbeat in my ears. Like, my own heartbeat was in my ears for many, many laps at the end of that race there. I did not believe it was actually happening. I honestly, we are recording this right now, and I still don't believe this happened.
Nope, I know. We, like, couldn't say it to each other over text, but it was definitely one of those races where it's like, okay, this can end now. And I feel like a lot of the times, like, this could end. I just need it to be over, and we can end it right now. And that happens a lot in sporting events. But, like, when it finally checkered flag happened and it was the moment, it was done deal, still kind of living in that doesn't feel real type space.
Totally normal reaction.
Totally normal reaction to just let this totally take over my whole personality for the day, the week, the month, probably the rest of the year, to be very honest. I mean, I wore this shirt yesterday, and I'm like, well, I guess I have to wear it again today.
Oh no. Also, I just realized right now, we've been sitting here doing, like, pre-production work, and I just realized we're wearing the same hat.
Of course we're wearing the same hat. It's a great hat.
It's a great hat. I just go over to YouTube. If you're listening on audio, you can see that we're accidentally matching.
There's so many 44s around me right now. It's like...
As there should be. We've played this once on the post game, but we've yet to play it on the main podcast. So I'm excited to bring you all Superstition or Super Stupid, where I give you something silly that happened in sports that could be chalked up as a superstition, and Nicole decides if that is good superstition or just super stupid.
With the disclaimer, I am very superstitious.
All right, the first one is, The Reds played the Yankees on 4th of July, and they had a post-national anthem standoff where players remained on the field, much to the grumpy umps who kept threatening to throw out the players. And the whole idea was you need to win the game before the game by being the last person to walk back into the dugout from the national anthem. Nicole, superstition or super stupid?
I think that's super stupid.
Wait, I feel like, hold on.
Like, all of them together.
Yeah.
That feels really super stupid, and it kind of now just feels like we're... And again, this is someone that, when they're not participating in games, needs to, like, if they're standing in one spot and a team scores, I'm like, need to be here for this team to score again. However, this just feels like we're wasting everyone's time of starting things and just does not seem efficient in getting things going and getting the game rolling.
Does it change your opinion if I tell you that the Reds both won the standoff and then proceeded to dominate the Yankees and win the game?
No, because I don't think the Yankees are necessarily a good standard of this right now. So I'm just still going to go with it. This is super stupid.
All right. Second thing of the week. Superstition or super stupid? If you win a game and a certain player took the lineup card to the ump, do you need to send the same player the next game? She's pondering, folks.
I'm pondering.
She
I know.
looks deep in thought and
thought
turmoil.
of trying to decide as to why I feel like this is superstitious and not super stupid.
I think you should go with your first gut instinct.
Right. I don't know why, but I just because.
Well, I will say the inspiration for this was that game 1 versus the Cubs, the Phillies had Kyle Schwarber take the lineup card out, and then they won. And then for the second game, Rob Thompson was asked whether or not he considered sending Schwarber again. And Rob Thompson, the grumpy manager that he is, basically grumbled no. And guess what? They also won that game. So it really, I think it's more about the Cubs not being very good.
Right. So again, in the super stupid,
but you think it's superstition?
I don't know why. I know. I would have sent him.
Final one. After a magical stretch, the Mets are only 4-5 since Jose Iglesias singed "Oh My God" on the field. Did that create bad juju? Is this superstition or super stupid?
Super stupid, because that song's such a bop. I cannot attribute anything bad to it because I've literally been jamming to it for like the last week. I don't want to attribute anything bad to that. I may just put that on Mets being the Mets and not on "Oh My God."
And I will say that being nearly 500 is not bad. So, but not as great as they were.
Not as great as the Grimace Supremacy 10 days.
Well, I am shocked that in our first official podcast segment of Superstition or Super Stupid, Superstition lost 1-2.
Yeah, that's
which
big
is
shocker.
A lot because Nicole.
I'm superstitious. Superstitious.
Oh my gosh.
You're having more emotions. It's a big emotion day today.
Well, I knew that while we were recording that last segment that they were going to release the All-Star lineup, and I thought there was absolutely no way that the Phillies were going to get this many pitchers. Excuse my language, I forgot that I hit record. I'll bleep that out. I'm
reviewing. Briana's faster than I am, so I'm pulling.
Hoffman got it, and Strom got it, and Suarez got it, Ranger got it. Oh my God, Ranger was so upset after Saturday night's game, where he admittedly had a really bad game, and he's had a rough stretch, which is totally normal for pitchers. And they asked him in the postgame interview if he still thought he was going to make the All-Star game, and he was like, probably not after my last 2 performances, but it's okay. I'm just going to focus on coming back stronger after the All-Star break, and he made it. And I mean, Wheeler made it, but if they didn't pick Wheeler, that would be lame. So this is duh. But and then Strom, oh my God, the Phillies got 2 relievers.
Yeah, the amount of Phillies on this list is...
They are the best team in baseball. They should. They hear
The Philadelphia is coming out with the F-bombs and the and the...
I wasn't even thinking about Okay, wait. Well, every team needs to get one player, so you should look up who the Met is.
Alonso.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, like, knew before checking and confirmed.
Yeah. I knew that none of the other offensive players in the Phillies were going to make it as a reserve, because it's like, how do you squeeze in other players, like, from other teams? We already have 3 starters. No, I do... Like, Schwarber and JT both deserved it, but it's okay. Fine.
Fine. We'll just dominate it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I just, like, am mad at the DH who did get the reserve spot over Schwarber. You know, that means the Phillies are sending an obnoxious 7 players to the All-Star game.
Of course they are.
Because they are the best team in baseball. But, like,
and that's why I don't know, I was going to say something sassy about the jerseys, but that's just even not related.
The All-Star game jerseys have just been ugly because they've been ugly. Like,
the American Leagues literally look like the Giants throwbacks. It's like, instead of your skin-colored legs, here's your skin torso. Like...
I don't know why they went away from, like, the slightly modified versions of you just wearing your normal team's jersey.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. I also thought that always looked so sick, like, turning it that way, but I guess, like, maybe they feel it could be, like, different merch sales because you don't... but then it's...
Well, you
I feel
can't
like
charge
want
$400
special editions of their own jerseys. Like, that's...
Right.
I'm so, like, I love my teams. Give me... Especially if it's the opportunity to get, like, my team's jersey in, like, a color that's, like, not mine, but, like, still pretty and not ugly. Like, super cool and fun. Keyword, they're still pretty, not ugly.
Yeah, I feel that way across the board. Like, I would definitely buy a limited edition Bryce Harper All-Star Game jersey. Like that, but I definitely am not buying an NL team jersey, even if it has Bryce Harper on the back.
For
like,
$450.
I'm not buying anything for $400, and I'm also not buying anything for $200, which is the, like, cheap knockoff version of not the official one they're wearing. No, that's not happening. But I want to say actual words that's not just me, like, awing. Like, it's really cool that Strahm and Hoffman both made the All-Star game. Hoffman makes a little more sense, but Strahm in particular has been so unbelievably dominant as a reliever, and relief pitchers don't normally make All-Star games because they don't have flashy stats like saves that the closer has. And they don't... So, but Strahm had a stretch for most of this season where he didn't allow a single run for something ridiculous. He had an ERA, which again, as a reliever, is nearly impossible because you have one bad inning as a reliever and it blows up your ERA. But he had an ERA under 1. Yeah. It's just, and everyone's been like, no one deserves it more than Strahm for this performance, but he's a reliever and it'd be really hard. Okay, I'll stop talking now. We could do the actual segment. I really just looked this up because the first question on the outline was about the All-Star starters. So I was like, oh, I should look up the full answer to this.
Broad Street versus Broadway. But is it really a debate? Because voiceover man is Team Broad Street, and that makes the vote 2-1 on this show. Let's go, birds.
So it's our first installment of Broad Street versus Broadway. If you are new here, hi, New York fan, Briana.
Philly fan.
Majority
Go
Philadelphia
Birds.
fan. Yeah, all the things. So our wonderful opportunity of when we go head to head and discuss all of the things that are, probably why we shouldn't be friends, but are anyway.
We are friends despite the fact that we hate each other's sports teams.
Exactly. So All-Star game, MLB All-Star game.
Next week, yeah.
Next week. Will the Phillies be present at all? Maybe.
No, not nearly enough for the best team in baseball. They only got 3 starters, and I am upset on behalf of JT. I'm upset on behalf of Kyle Schwarber because I think he deserves it. But Shohei Ohtani was gonna get that DH spot, of course. But if JT wasn't hurt, he would definitely have gotten it. And as you all just witnessed me having a freak out, the Phillies did get 4 pitchers. So, no, not enough Phillies. There should be more Phillies. Christopher Sanchez deserved a nod as a starting pitcher, and I think he just doesn't have the name cachet of Ranger yet, and that's totally fair. I think in a normal year, Aaron Nola would be under consideration for it, but he just somehow has gone from our second best pitcher to our fourth, and that's not even getting into Alvarado. And that's me just talking about the pitching. So no, there were not enough Phillies.
This would end up being like a really interesting Phillies game if it was up to Briana. Just be like, here's the Phillies versus everybody else.
No. I will fully admit that when us as Phillies fans voted all 3 of our outfielders into the final round of All-Star voting, that 2 out of the 3 of them...
It's literally like a prom. It's like,
look, you're going to make it fan voting.
Prom queen. Yeah,
if you're going to make it fan voting, vote better for your players. Don't be mad that the Phillies put the Phillies there. Now, I will say that I could make a very legitimate argument that I will not put on anyone's ears right now, that Brandon Marsh, if he did get voted in, it wouldn't be absurd. The other 2, I love Casty, and Rojas is a good time. They shouldn't have been in that vote, but did I vote for them every time I sat down to vote? Yeah. Of course I did.
Because Phillies fans.
Yes.
All right, well, bringing you down a little bit, Phillies Brave series just ended. Wasn't necessarily, it wasn't a sweep, but Braves did, went out 2-1. How are you feeling post this series?
Totally fine. Totally great. I'm not just saying that. I am fine. Roll the tape from last week, and where I said I just want to go 1-2 against the Braves, I'd be perfectly fine. The Phillies are missing 3 of their 4 best players. The Braves got our essentially bullpen day because we're saving Wheeler for next week. Yeah, okay. We won a game. Guess the Phillies came into this series up 10 games on them in the division, and we're leaving the series up 8 games, which is still the biggest divisional lead in baseball. Okay.
Yeah. Very
they did
different
what they needed
emotional
to do.
come down from last week to now All-Stars to
Well, this is with the news that Schwarber is almost guaranteed to come back for the first game against the Dodgers on Tuesday because they have an off day tomorrow, which means when you're all listening to this, Schwarber should be in the lineup that day, and Harper is Tuesday or Wednesday. So people are coming back. Everything's going to be fine. They went 500 without them.
Yeah, right. So you'll have Schwarber back, you'll have JT back. Eventually Bryce will be back. So that's who your 3 you're hurting with a little bit right now, but seemingly doing okay-ish.
No, physically, if you ask me my emotional state in the middle of the game, watching either of the losses, I am a bad baseball fan. We're in the middle of a baseball game or at the end of the baseball game, I'm like, this sucks. I don't like losing games in a sport where you're incredible if you win 6 out of 10. I'm just I can't do it. I'm bad at that. But Lewis Hamilton won the Grand Prix today. It would take a lot to bring me down.
And you already had won the first game of the series, so
again, I set my expectations going in that in this Cubs Braves week, I wanted them to go 500. They went 500. I wanted them to win 1 game against the Braves. They won 1 game against the Braves. I don't know how I could ask for more. I'm okay.
So, Mets fan, I suffer. I have Pete Alonso that, yay, and we representation in the All-Star game. Woo! We're here and there. Everyone needs someone. So,
Everyone
whatever.
gets a player.
Right, exactly, but it's okay. Do you feel I should, as a Mets fan, be pushing Mets to be more buyers or sellers coming the deadline?
As a Mets fan, if they sell at the deadline, you should revolt. They are only 5 games back of the Braves for second place. I believe in the wild card. Let me double check. Yeah,
At this time,
recording on Sunday, July 7th, the Mets are only 2.5 games back of that final wild card spot. I don't know how much of a buyer they should be, but oh, they should not be sellers. And they were planning on being sellers. And if I was you, I would. How about this? As a Phillies fan, I cannot wait for the Mets to make the wrong decision and sell at this deadline.
Well, I mean, Mets have just been buy, 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 buy. It just seems like now it's going to be like sell, sell, sell. And then but so it feels even silly to ask, are you more worried about the Braves or the Mets overtaking the Phillies first in the division, when I feel like the answer is neither? I'm fine. We're okay. Lewis Hamilton won a race, and we're still 8 games ahead. Is that it? Did I just answer? We're good?
No, I think baseball's a long series, and every team is going to have a slump. And I feel very lucky that the Phillies slump has been like, so far this season has been like, oh, we've had a little bit of a stretch where we're playing 500 without our best players. Like,
Yeah, like you're injured.
that's so annoying.
You have the injury piece to point to.
Right. And it's temporary injury, because I would never point to injuries if it was like, they're out for the season, so now we need to no longer reevaluate the team with them on it. It's like, we have these temporary injuries where they're all going to be back theoretically by after the All-Star break is when we get JT. So it's a lot of yammering to say. I am definitely more worried about the Braves. Like, if a team's going to make the push, it's going to be the Braves. But that's just because we're dealing with this small sample size. Like, I will say the Braves and the Mets have both gone 500 over the last 10 games. So it's not like, it's not impossible for one of, like, the Phillies still need to have what is probably going to be their bad stretch of the season. And it seems like the Mets are not an awful team like they were supposed to be or wanted to be. It's so weird coming into a season being like, I want to be a bad team and we're just okay because baseball. So I would say right now the Braves, but if we had the same conversation in a month and we were looking at it differently, I don't think I would be surprised.
Yeah, I guess also if we were having this conversation mid-grimace, it could have been like maybe a little bit more of a different conversation. But who knows? We'll see. Yeah. Continuing on. Yeah. We're not
Baseball's
done
weird.
yet.
You're like, oh, are you going to be all cocky and that I'm not afraid of anyone? It's like, no, I will forever always be afraid of the Braves. The Phillies are the losingest organization in MLB history. I will always, for some reason, like the way that you feel like the little child to the Yankees, like I just, like, not necessarily to the Braves. It's just like the Phillies being good doesn't feel normal. I don't understand and comprehend how to be the best team in baseball. This is not what is going on.
Nicole predicts a ball game. Nicole predicts the series. Give her almost no info and stats. We don't care if she doesn't know bat. Let us root for her predictions. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out in our prediction game.
Nicole tries to really enjoy baseball as the sports fan that she is, that it makes sense that she should, and I'm gaining different perspectives. It's definitely a different viewpoint of how I've previously had to watch baseball.
Yeah. Big picture. So before we get into a reaction for both of the series that you picked this week, big picture, did you enjoy watching teams not named the New York Mets this week?
I did.
And the answer can be no.
Yeah, no, I did. I definitely, I mean, my options, I was bummed only in the way of everyone that I was picking. My picks did not. I guess no. My second pick.
That's not
picked.
true.
I forgot my second pick picked.
Yeah, but you had a rough.
English.
For context, the first series of the week was Baltimore at Seattle. You picked Seattle to win 2 of the 3 games. Baltimore grabbing 1, and it ended up being the reverse. And I think despite that, every single game was exciting.
Yeah, they definitely. It was a really great series. I think like one of the big takeaways was how well matched the teams were in this whole series. And I think that's why I really was feeling that like the home field advantage would make a really unbelievable difference in this series, which to the point I do want to give a call out that like the crowd in Seattle was like showing up at next level. So it really, as watching it, I was like, this could have totally played a big difference, but the Orioles were just like on. Like their pitching was out of this world, but like and God, game 2, Anthony Santander had like this incredible grab and slide that I was like, okay, yeah, like everyone here was like really up and on, and it was just like really enjoyable to watch straight through for all three, because you just knew that like it could go either way. So that definitely made it really fun.
It's been fun from my side of things when I get to identify the series of the week, because it's like, oh, I get to grab the most exciting series with 2 good baseball teams that you can watch. I think this was a perfect example, and particularly game 1, of how you can have incredible pitching, and if you just don't get the run support, it doesn't matter. So like, the difference in game 1 between Baltimore and Seattle, even if the score doesn't show that it was this close, was that Baltimore gave their incredible pitcher run support and Seattle gave their incredible pitcher nothing.
Yeah, like Seattle, with like anytime they could get on base, just like could not close. Like number of hits like didn't even make a difference, because it was just like, all right, you're not completing, like there it is. But then meanwhile, like
silly takeaway from this series is when bats break, it's fun. Game 3, there were so many broken bats, and it's just one of those weird anomalies. And of course, giant asterisks, as long as no one gets hurt. But it's just, when the bat breaks, it's kind of fun.
Blows my mind. I'm like that because it really registered. It has since I was little. Of just like, wow, they're like really doing the thing every single time. Had the exact same takeaway.
Ball going over 95 miles per hour, would bat, boom. Like, it's so fun when it happens. You're like, whoa. As a sidebar in like Bats Shenanigans, this wasn't from the series of the week, but Soto on the Phillies in one of the Cubs game, like lost his bat backwards in his swing and it got caught in the net, stayed there for the rest of the game, completely overnight. The next morning they showed up trying to get the bat back for the 3rd game. And they thought they were going to have to bring in a crane to remove it from up there. And then all of a sudden someone was like, what if we just shake the net really hard? And then it came down.
And that just worked.
Yeah, because baseball. Like, these are things that only happen in baseball.
Because baseball.
Yeah. Which leads me to a transition. Our second series of the week was the Phillies at Braves series. You did get this one right. Actually, very right, considering you said the Braves were going to win 2 out of the 3 games and they were going to lose Friday, which is exactly what happened. So you were watching a stumbling, ailing, backup Phillies offense, some mediocre Phillies pitching against a pretty injured Braves team, but their injuries are all out for the year. What was your takeaway and feelings from watching this series, besides the fact that both teams violently hate each other?
Yeah, that seemed like super evident too. I think I also really enjoy, which maybe it's a hot take, I absolutely love watching teams that despise each other, and like beyond a rivalry, like you could just like really feel it and see it.
The players hate each other.
Yes.
Like, the Braves player who went with Darth Vader's theme, like, the Braves are so the bad guys. And not just because they're winning, and not just because I'm a Phillies fan. Like, they just love being bad people. And we're just like, okay. Like,
yeah.
They hate you. Yeah.
It definitely like adds to like the tension and everything. And I'm not saying it to, and again, as a Mets fan, not trying to make you the most happy. I think my most enjoyable game was Friday. Just it felt like it was like more action packed. I mean, I think it was cool. Aaron Nola getting 100th career win is always like cool for all those kind of like really cool, fun, exciting milestones. But again, another example of teams like really matched energy. I think it would have been a really interesting series if like Phillies wasn't it was interesting anyway, but adding the other layer of like removing all the injuries that would have happened, I think could have made like such an unbelievably huge difference. So it's almost like playing in my brain of like, well, what if would happen? But yay for predicting the future sometimes on things.
Ready to pick some games of the week?
Sure.
Series of the week. Number 1, and I promise I won't pick the Phillies every week. I'm trying to pick the best teams in baseball playing against the other best teams in baseball, which means that from the 9th to the 11th, the series of that part of the week is going to be the Dodgers at the Phillies. And really what I want to talk about here, so I've always said that I was going to give you limited information. So this week, instead of talking to you about streaks or records, I'm going to talk to you about pitchers. You know how in hockey, everything's goaltending?
Right.
Like, really, when it all comes down to it, it's just goaltending. Well, in baseball, really, when it comes down to it, everything's just starting pitching. Can other things affect it? Is it as absolute as goaltending? No, but it's pretty darn close. So, game 1, Hi from the editing room. I proceed to spend over 5 minutes talking predominantly about Phillies pitching. And while I was excited to say all of that, and I find it interesting, I decided not to subject you all to listening to that. So if you are interested in my pitching matchup breakdown in the future, I promise to keep it under 2 or 3 minutes so I can actually include it in the pod in a way that is interesting and exciting. So comment below if that is something you want in the future. If not, don't tell me because it will hurt my feelings. All right, here's Nicole actually making some predictions. This is all about giving Nicole Baseball Lessons 101, which is look at the starting pitching matchup.
And I don't want to, but I'm gonna pick the Phillies. 2-1. I don't know. Do I have to pick whichever one they're gonna lose? They'll lose
it's
the
more
last
fun.
one.
All right, that's pretty fitting for what the Phillies have done. All right, and our second series of the week, we have a divisional matchup against the first place Baltimore Orioles and the ailing New York Yankees right now. Baltimore, streaking positive, has reclaimed first place in the last couple weeks. Yankees trending downward. But who do you think's gonna win the series of the week?
Ooh, this is a hard one, especially because I did spend a good amount of time over the last few days watching the Orioles and then also watching Yankees Red Sox. So I feel like in a super bias right now, and it just could definitely come back. But I am gonna go with the Orioles.
Sweep?
Yeah. Just keep it fun and interesting. We'll do a sweep. We'll see that come back and bite me and just be the total opposite. But no, I'm going with Yankee continued trend down. Orioles continue their hold in the lead and sweeping the Yanks.
That would be a big deal
Hot
for the
take,
division
big
standings.
deal. Absolutely. Big
Yell
stories
at
in
Nicole
sports.
in the comments.
Go for it.
No, but in all seriousness, if you're watching, give your picks in the comments. I want to see how you all feel the series of the week. Also, if I snubbed your team and didn't pick you for series of the week, you have full permission to yell at me.
Tell me why we should be picking your team series this week.
But this week was so obvious to me. I was like, yeah, these are the
No,
series
that definitely makes sense. That's very spot on.
Daycare moment of the week.
Phillies called up young pitcher named Mercado, who made his first start at Wrigley Field against the Cubs, pitched an incredible start. They won the game, and he got interviewed at the end of the game, which means he got to get daycared. And honestly, the whole story was just so wholesome for a pitcher who didn't think he was going to make it to the major leagues at a certain point. And he has this incredible first start. And is it the most entertaining daycare we've ever gotten? No, but it is still my daycare of the week because it's wholesome and sweet.
Very cute, adorable.
No. I will also point out the dynamic of them daycaring Trey Turner first, who's getting interviewed by the radio guys, who's just like, yep, this is my normal day to day, and then going over to the kid who's getting it for the first time was a wholesome, an equally wholesome moment. Well, as I said in the playbook, the NHL decided to give us everything, everywhere, all at once. And now everyone's on vacation. So there's probably too much to talk about. I've narrowed this down to a list of relevant questions I personally want the answer to, and hopefully that will interest everyone listening as well. And it's mostly going to be NHL free agency themed. But before we get into free agency, the NHL reinstated 3 of the key major executives from the Chicago sexual assault case. Granted, the shadiness of dropping this on July 1st, the same day as they decided to drop the schedule and free agency open. And second, how much shit and pressure should we be putting on any teams that decide to hire them?
Like a lot, like incredibly so much. It screams the timing of this and everything. I mean, the storyline's been going on for so long now in the NHL, and it just seems like still like not enough has happened. And like for this reinstating to be happening on one of the biggest news days in NHL, like so much is happening at the exact same time that it is such an obvious marketing move of let's try and sweep this under the rug and like get this, there's going to be enough Googling and enough SEO happening that like it's not going to be popping up in all of the headlines because everyone's going to be talking about the schedule and next season, that we're going to be able to reinstate and just not acknowledge really, or it'll just be able to like fly below the radar. And then it'll be too late when people are like, wait, huh? Like, I thought this was taken care of and done. Like,
I want to fully acknowledge that, yes, people can learn and grow. But I am frustrated with the lack of communicating to us exactly what these three executives have done to prove that they have learned and grown from such an awful thing happening.
Yeah.
That they were complicit in.
Incredibly so. It's a scary thing to imagine that quickly someone would be back in a position of power. And it's a really shocking move. And, not like the Blackhawks are necessarily in an unbelievable favor based on ice performance. So it's kind of just like bad times all around.
Change the name. Change the logo at least. Sorry, we can't talk about the Chicago Blackhawks. It's like Tourette's. Like you say Chicago Blackhawks and I say change that logo.
Change the logo. Change so much about it. Change everything.
Like if you want to make an argument that like the name can't change, like, okay, logo. Change the logo. Okay. Yeah. And that has nothing to do with this sexual assault case or these three execs. Again, it's just Tourette's. You say Blackhawks, I say that. I can't do it. All right. Well, we are going to move on and talk about NHL Free Agency, but just know that we will be bringing this back up if someone decides to hire it, and those teams will be on our shit list, even if they are our teams. So moving on. Help the Nashville Predators took up all the headlines and hired all the people. They got all the players. I really want to know, despite the attention grabbing of all the signings, do you think this will work out? And how do you predict their 2024-2025 season is going to go?
I think it is appropriate to be scared of the Predators right now. And in a way of that, I do think they are going to be really good next year. I mean, They had like a really strong season this year, and all of their action within free agency has definitely set them up to be really stacked. It kind of seemed like it was cutting it close in the end for them, and it just, didn't work out with having the right talent. And so much in hockey comes down to having the goal scorers and like the people who are going to complete and be in the right place at the exact same right time. And like sometimes it's just about finding those people that are going to be able to do that. And I definitely seems like Nashville is good, is pretty loaded right now. They surprisingly came in as the front runner for the re-signing of Tampa Bay's beloved Stamkos, which was a big surprise.
Shocking.
I mean, huge. Like he's literally drafted by Tampa 2008, has like been very vocal of he's like, he would retire here. And there was like the back and forth of like re-signing and things, but like obviously like the dollars
seems like they lowballed him.
Yes, it's exactly what it seems like. Like the dollars just like weren't there on either side, that either Tampa felt like he was asking for way too much or that like, he was being offered way too little. And with like, I mean, to be fair, like, yes, he's an older player, and Tampa, as most teams tend to do, like really love to like sign young, sign them long. And it was like what they did with him. And now he's just older, but doesn't necessarily, I mean, scoring 40 goals this year, like is nothing to like turn away from. So it's really shocking that like, it was just not something that worked out on the cards, that they just, and yes, big raising of the flags here of like cap space. Cap space is so unbelievably huge in all sports, and especially in hockey when you're like really in a good place and you're getting in certain players, and then but takes up all of that space, which is like, I think.
But it seems like the Nashville Predators didn't have an issue. They had lots of that space to make all the headlines.
Appropriately, and then some teams get like incredibly lucky with it, with finding the right cap space and having the right deals and offers to be able to. I mean, like another person they were able to pick up was like Machiso from the Vegas Knights. And God, I'll get into Vegas Knights a little bit later. But another like one that like had a career high of like over 40 goals this year. And just Vegas couldn't keep him. Vegas doesn't have the space, and it's like extended a 5-year contract with him. So the Predators are going to have him at least for the next 5 years. And like, that's something that's really good to be knowing that you're going into, and they're setting themselves up for longevity. So now we'll see, in a couple of years, if maybe like, if Stamkos is older and then it doesn't play out the way that, it plays out in the way that maybe Tampa was expecting, that like, the younger guys are going to be the ones that you're going to want to rely on. But I just don't necessarily, I do kind of feel like they let that go, like him too soon, too quick. But again, money wasn't there. They didn't have the space to pay him. So Nashville he goes. Nashville had the space. Nashville had the money. There, you go where that follows.
Well, you alluded to it, but I'm going to put your feet to the fire a little bit so we can circle back to this. 2024-25 season for the Predators. Where do you have them finishing in their division?
Towards the top, for sure. I would definitely.
That is too vague for us to. I want to know.
I don't want to say number one. I'll give them second place.
Okay. Like I said, feet to the fire. You got to make a prediction.
I know. I was like, I was gonna give a number, but I was gonna say to the top. I'll put them second place in the division.
All right. Well, let's move on to your New York Islanders. I would say this is not a national headline, but I am curious. I want to know how you are doing. How do you rate their free agency so far? Preferably on our dog bone scale.
It's a mid. So I want to say 3 out of 5 dog treats, but it feels too strong because I just feel lackluster. We got Anthony Duclair. Great. Fantastic. Would I be hyped about it if this was 4 years ago? 100%. He's not bad.
We alert.
We alert. Yes. Not bad. Good. Not a star. And as I was alluding to before, teams need scorers. Teams need to get goals. And the Islanders have been in desperate need of that forever. So I think Duclair could be, a great addition. And could he complete? I think maybe with him and Barzy together, it could ultimately lead to magical magic. I'm not upset. It just does not feel like enough to be making a difference, but the Islanders have 0 cap space. It is so being taken up by my captain Anders Lee, and we just don't have the room to play. It is kind of feel very stuck. So I feel mid. I feel like for the space that we have available, Duclair's a good get, but I don't necessarily feel like it's going to make an unbelievable difference in the areas that we need it to.
We alert.
Gosh, it's my favorite new sounder. We're going to use it all the time because we both just say we in reference to our favorite teams.
And also Cole, Cole Eiserman's going to need so much time and development and the rest of our draft picks as well, that it's I can't be taking that into account going into next season because it's not going to make a difference. So with everything that I have on the table, I currently feel like I'm in the exact same place that we are and we were. And yeah. Very sad.
This is a gripe I have with the NHL from a marketing standpoint. They're shoving everything into 1 week. But I think the biggest gripe for casual fans, it makes it very confusing to have the draft and free agency so close because I've seen so many casual people online taking into account draft picks into free agency grades because they happen so close. And it's no, that 17-year-old kid isn't going to play for you for 3 years.
And for some teams it can. There may be some 17-year-olds that we suddenly see this year, but it's so rarely the case that it's that's how it continues to be. And especially at least for the full season, they'll pull them up for a start or two at the beginning, but you so very rarely have that star right away, which would just be fantastic. And the Islanders need someone to come in and start goal scoring yesterday.
So let's do some other takeaways. What signing surprised you the most, good or bad, besides the ones we talked about right now? And
besides the one we talked about, God, I think I'm also worried about Edmonton. Not only do I feel like they're entering their villain era, but they also were able to snag some really solid solid scorers from the Kings and Buffalo with Arvidsson and Skinner. And I kind of think McDavid's going to be on his absolute reputation revenge tour for the millionth time. So not that I feel surprised, but I definitely someone's cooking. It's cooking over there. That I think is really exciting.
Is there any team that gets a 5 out of 5 treats for their free agency?
I give it to the Predators right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's the Predators or it's Edmonton. I mean, they're so clearly like doing the thing, and like I would be I'm worried about both of them next year. They're just stacked. Their lines are going to be like all terrifying across the board.
All right, and then the other side, is there a team that is getting 0 out of 5 dog treats for the executive producers for their free agency?
0 dog treats, mostly because, and it was all like circumstantial, the Vegas Knights were in like a really unbelievably tough spot. I think last year they were
always in an unbelievably tough spot.
Except last year they were incredibly comfortable, like coming off like an unbelievable cup win, and like they had a lot of their starters were signed. Like they were going in knowing comfortably, and like now this year, it's like 6 of their like major stars are up for free agency, and they don't have the cap space to keep all of them. And that's how then you have like, you know, Marchezzo going to Nashville, because you can't be keeping all of these people. So it was like they were golden, they were great, but now suddenly once they all become available at the exact same time, you don't have the space to be able to keep all of them. So it's more out of circumstance, 0 out of 5, but that's...
No, someone has to
manage your space better. Plan ahead of time.
All right, my final question is, how weird is it that the NHL schedule... how weird is the NHL schedule that free agency starts the day after the championship parade?
Yeah, it's really kind of that energy of like, you've just graduated, now get out, you're no longer seniors. Like, bye. They don't let anyone sit and reflect at all. And if they
all need to go on vacation. Everyone needs to get all the work done in 5 days so that everyone can stop doing their job.
Time to golf.
Yeah. The Flyers GM Danny Briere, in his like free agency presser, essentially said as much. So yeah, if nothing happens in the next week, like everyone just closes their offices, so nothing's gonna happen. And then he even said something like everyone closes their offices for like a month and a half. And I'm like, in what other sport? This is uniquely this sport. All right, any other takeaways we missed that you want to get to?
No, those are that's what you missed on Glee. NHL Free Agency. Whee!
You know, on top of every NHL thing we got the NHL schedule. So this is our podiums of the games we are selfishly, personally, the most excited about for this upcoming season. I can say, knowing my podium, not knowing yours, but speaking from mine, that there are definitely more exciting games on the NHL schedule, but not to me. This is my podium.
This is for us. This is what we're most excited about.
Right. Selfishly, what games do I want to watch? All right. Well, what's your P3?
In P3,
Islanders home opener, October 10th.
So I see your podium's going to be similar to my podium.
See, here's the thing, though. Yes, I'm excited.
That's
it's
not my
the home
P3.
opener.
But
it is I'm super hyped it's the home opener, because yes, I already miss hockey and I absolutely love hockey and I want more hockey, and no matter how tortured I am, I want to watch hockey. Islanders home opener is also against Utah Hockey Club. And so there's like the cool thing of like, it's the first game and I want to win. I want to beat them. And I want to beat the hockey club with this silly, weird name. So that kind of adds to it. But yeah, obviously the home opener, and like, yeah, first game against Utah, let's win and also beat them in their first game.
3 teams have their home opener against Utah, which is just a weird schedule anomaly. I love the name, by the way, Utah Hockey Club. I hate the branding. Branding looks like something anyone could do. Like,
it definitely is too basic and easy of an attempt.
All right, for my podium.
In P3,
October 22nd, where every single team in the NHL is playing. Nicole, you got to hit the sounder.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
It just seems like a fun day. That's really, it's just, I'm bending the rules because it was supposed to be NHL games, and I'm basically saying, like, this slate of games, but it's just fun that there's a day that every team's going to be playing.
That is very magical. I wonder how many times that happens a season, a year, and literally ever, because I feel like that's a lot of crazy scheduling that has to be put into play for sure.
I can't tell how on purpose it was, but I do know it did happen for one day last year as well. Mm-hmm. So if I was the NHL, I would do it on purpose, and it was a good date selection for October 22nd. Beginning of the season, ramping things up. I think they should do it this is my business brain, they should do it twice. Once towards the beginning of the season, and then they should definitely align it once after most of the NFL is done. Like to remind people that hockey is still on.
To remind people that hockey is still happening.
Right. Hey, you don't have football to watch anymore. Come over here.
In P2.
January 2nd, Islanders home game against Toronto. I want every opportunity I can to flip off John Tavares in person. That's really it.
That's a great rationale.
In P2.
I'm going to go with October 11th, not the first home game, but the first game the Flyers have at Vancouver. Wow, that was hard to get out of my mouth. I want to see Michkov flying around on some skates in an official game for the Flyers. I am excited to see the man play hockey. If I lived locally, of course, I would say Michkov first game at home. But because I watch all of them on TV anyway, that's why I'm going with that.
In P1.
February 25th, Islanders at home against the Rangers. We have to play them at the Garden first earlier in the year, and that's pain. I like playing the Rangers at home because for some reason, sometimes it works. Also always home games. Yeah. Home games. And Islanders Rangers will always be my favorite games to attend and go to. But I have to wait until February.
That's a long time.
Yep.
I really felt the schedule was very, at least for the Flyers, division game loaded at the back half of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that definitely kind of is what it seems like.
All right.
In P1.
December 28th, Flyers at Ducks. Not just because I get to... sounder, sorry, my bad. Not just because I get to go to this one, but because the Flyers were forced to trade top prospect Cutter Gauthier to the Ducks. Michkov, I want to see Michkov and this current iteration of the Flyers destroy the Anaheim Ducks, and for Cutter to be sad. Nothing like a good little bit of haterade to fuel my favorite matchup of the season.
That would really give that whole storyline like a come full circle, beautiful ending if it eventually becomes like a mini 30 for 30 type vibe. Like that is such a like storyline waiting to happen. It's going to be all over the place again.
Yes, because decided what was better for his NHL career was to play for the Ducks.
Get out.
Yeah.
Go to Anaheim.
Like, go play for the Ducks.
Or actually, excuse me, no, stay at the Flyers. You can just tank them on purpose.
All right. Did you have any honorable mentions that weren't on either of our lists?
I do have an honorable mention.
A bonus mention because we struggle with self-editing.
December 16th. Panthers, Oilers rematch.
Yeah.
That
wasn't on mine, but yeah.
I love watching every year the first time that the two teams like from the finals match up again, just to kind of it's like, ooh, we get to see it happening. And obviously teams are very different given everything we were obviously discussing before with free agency, but it's some a little spicy, some a little interesting.
I'll throw in another one.
A bonus mention because Briana struggled to make a decision.
I actually didn't struggle to make a decision, but I will say that as much as it pains me because I hate Boston, the Swayman-Ullmark rematch is slated for, not rematch, but match is slated for November 9th. And I hated how much I liked their hugs. And I'm sad that they're gone, if I'm being honest. And again, I hate Boston. It's really good for me that them being apart makes Boston less likable because Boston should never be likable. That's counter to how the world should operate.
It's counter to how my brain works.
Right. So, but they get to play each other November 9th. So I'm somewhat excited for that. I do have one more if there's nothing left on yours.
Yes, I am done. That is all of mine.
A bonus mention because we struggle with self-editing.
Flyers are at the Islanders my birthday week.
Yep. That is an obvious and clear good pick and definitely a fun game matchup. And
might be an excuse for me to fly to New York.
It's like we may have tickets already, maybe, probably.
Maybe?
Time is running out. It's the final buzzer.
Philadelphia Philly and first-time All-Star Alec Boehm is entering the Home Run Derby this All-Star week, and I think he is likely to set the record for most doubles hit during the Home Run Derby. I can joke about it because I'm a Phillies fan. You cannot.
The Anaheim Ducks are really leaning into the shocking moment for their 3rd overall pick this year, and they are selling What the Duck shirts.
The Seattle Kraken hired the first full-time female assistant coach in the NHL, Jessica Campbell.
Team USA's Olympic gymnastic trials averaged 7.6 million viewers and peaked at 8.2 million. It's the most watched Olympic trials since 2016.
26-year-old South Jersey native and longtime Philadelphia sports fan Tyler Phillips made his major league debut with the Phillies this weekend. I highly recommend checking out some of the Phillies tailgate stories that he told Philadelphia Inquirer reporter Alex Coffey. It really made my heart happy as a Philly fan, and I don't want to ruin and just go read her article. It is worth it. So he struck out the side in the first inning, which is incredible. His final line was 4 innings pitched, only 3 hits, 1 run, which was a solo shot home run, with a final ERA of 2.25. What an incredible first outing in the major leagues for his hometown team. It was just a wholesome moment in a really sucky game.
Suni Lee celebrated being a part of the USA gymnastics team with a wonderful Instagram post thanking everyone that got her there, including the therapy dog, Beacon, a beautiful golden retriever, and the goodest boy that was there to support the USA Olympic athletes during the trials.
What a cute name for a dog.
Thank you for listening to another sports show. Thank you to our co-creators, Nicole Katz and Briana Klein. Thank you to the four-legged executive producers and me, voiceover man. Make us one of your stars of the game by subscribing, liking the video, and turning on auto downloads. Make our day by leaving us a review on your podcast platform of choice and a comment on YouTube. Attend the postgame on social media for exclusive daily content. We'll be back to review the playbook every week. See you next Tuesday.
Today was another sports show, and it was a victory!